Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Playbook podcast. And we're back with another episode in the Winter Olympics Explainer series. So, picture racing downhill at over 120 kilometers an hour, wherein you skim past gates inches away from disaster, wherein one mistake could lead to a major injury, and in the process, making 4 years of preparation go to waste. This is alpine skiing, and before the Winter Olympics starts, this is a brief explainer of what alpine skiing is about. So, skiing is an individual winter sport where athletes race down a mountain as fast as possible while passing through a series of gates. So, imagine gravity, speed, technique, and the clock all coming together to form this sport. Now, the goal is very simple: finish the course in the fastest time without missing a single gate. Now, what makes alpine skiing special is how many versions of speed exist within this particular sport. So, some events are about pure velocity, while others are about tight turns and rhythm. And in all of them, the margins are very, very microscopic. Now, a brief history about alpine skiing. So, it initially evolved from your rudimentary mountain travel in the European Alps into competitive racing in the early 20th century. Now, it made its Olympic debut in 1936 and became one of the flagship Winter Olympic sports. Now, over time, we've had your traditional alpine countries like Austria and Switzerland building such a technical dominance. Then we had France and Italy producing such elegant and attacking skiers. And nowadays we have the likes of Norway and the USA adding that power and athleticism to the sport. So if you see alpine skiing today, it represents the purest battle between nature, skill, and nerve at the Winter Olympic level. So, at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics, alpine skiing returns to one of its most iconic homes. So, the women's events will be held in Cortina d'Ampezzo, set in the heart of the Dolomites, a location that already has hosted the Winter Olympics back in 1956. While the men's speed events will take place on the legendary Stelvio in Bormio, which is considered one of the toughest downhill tracks in the world. Now let's go into the basic rules or the format of this particular sport. So generally, any race across all the five disciplines which is there within the sport, it works like this. So each of the skiers race one at a time. The fastest time wins, and if you miss a gate, it results in an automatic disqualification. Now, the five disciplines which are there at the Winter Olympics are as follows. One is the downhill event, which is the fastest event ever. It has very few gates and longer jumps, but there is a drawback here. You get only one run to do it. So once you blink, it's over. Now we go on to the Super G event, which is like we say slightly less slower than the downhill event, but it's still quite fast, by the way. But it contains a little more, it's more twisty and turning, if you get what I mean. And it requires a lot more speed and precision. And here also, it requires just one run. Then we go on to the giant slalom event, which is you can say like the perfect middle ground across the five events. It is a medium. It consists of medium length turns, and here we have two runs which are added together. So here it tests your rhythm and consistency. And now we go on to the slalom event, which is the shortest course there is. It consists one of the tightest turns across. It's very technical, super technical. And here, because of the high difficulty level as well as the technicality of this particular event, there are two runs, allowed for each athlete, and often is decided by 1/100th of a second. And now, newly introduced for this particular Olympic cycle, we have the team combined event, wherein there are two athletes from which form one team. So one athlete will race the speed leg, which or basically the downhill leg, and the other will race the slalom leg. And then you combine both the times together to get one. So if you want to break it down further, the speed events within this, that would be the Super G and the downhill event, that would be it rewards bravery, whereas the more technical events punish hesitation at any point. Now, few Fun and obscure facts. So, downhill skiers in this particular sport can exceed more than between 120 to 130 kilometers per hour on any particular run. Then another fact is like the forces which are experienced while they do the turns can reach multiple Gs. Another one is like snow conditions can change rapidly due to like sunlight and temperature coming into play, and that can just throw the competition up in many directions. If you get what I mean. And then over here, bib numbers matter a lot. So early starters often get much cleaner and faster snow. So as much later when skiers come in, they have to plod through the course. Let's put it that way. And one last thing, in alpine skiing, if you fall, it doesn't automatically end your race. So if a skier has passed all the gates correctly, they are allowed to continue. But at the Olympic level, races are often decided by 1/100th of a second. So while a fall may not disqualify you, it almost entirely always ends your medal chances. So once you hit the snow, the mountain has already taken its prize. Now, which are the countries who are one of the best in this sport? So there is Austria, who have unmatched depth across all the five disciplines. Of course, Switzerland is involved because they are one of the premier nations. Norway, they have a lot more power skiers, and France and Italy, of course, with their distinct home advantage. And whereas the skiers people would have to look out for is Marco Odermatt, who's one of the most complete skiers of this generation, and of course Michaela Schifrin, who has redefined slalom and GS greatness. So, what makes this particular edition of this sport, of the 2026 sport, unique is that the newly introduced team combined event, wherein one skier had to race. So earlier, one skier had to race both the speed run as well as the slalom run. Now in the 2026, that format is gone, and you have two athletes forming one team. So one will race downhill or super G, and the other one will race slalom, and both their times are added together. So this shifts the focus from your individual stars to something more national and broader, like in terms of depth. So you will find countries with strength across disciplines gaining a major advantage over here. All this to say, alpine skiing is one of the most ruthless sports there is, wherein there is no opponent which you're fighting against on any particular run. There are no second chances here. It's just you, the mountain, and the clock. It's basically a test of your mental endurance as well as your physical endurance. Now, when the gates open in Cortina and Bormio, let's hope that while you watch the sport, you're able to get what we were trying to convey in this particular explainer video. Thank you. Please like and subscribe this video, and please tune in for other videos in the series.